Good morning from Lombok, Indonesia. It's my pleasure, Muchammadun, to deliver a talk on international seminar on creative economics, tourism, and information management. Today, my two focus key messages on this seminar are resilience and management of tourism. Let me share a screen for you and start the title, Tourism Crisis, Management and Resilience, a Community Development Perspective. Let us start from the background. There is some interconnectedness between community development and the tourism business. The tourism community development can directly contribute to the goals of sustainable development, particularly in the creation of decent work and economic growth, which is goal 8, responsible consumption and production, which is goal 12, and life below water, which is goal 14. Therefore, the good policy on tourism and good practices on tourism management are the key messages to make it happen. However, a raising question of research is what model of management suits to better up the tourism business, particularly in the context of Indonesia. It is a managed community. The tourism has triggered many sectors of economical activities, including hotels, restaurants, agricultural, food and transport business. Tourism also affects spatial development and the biological and socio-cultural environment, such as the establishment of infrastructure, the empowerment of local communities, cultural heritages, as well as the preservation of environmental assets. It is a highly contributing business, yet very competitive. In Indonesia itself, tourism makes nearly 2% of the gross domestic product. And in the global scale, tourism belongs to the top 10 sources of foreign currency. However, pre and whilst crisis, tourism is a very competitive business. Let us analyze it. In terms of policy gap and doing business ease, Indonesia sits on the 72nd rank throughout the world. It's somewhat low below Malaysia's position and neighboring Thailand's position, which are better up on 24th and 26th accordingly. So starting from how to start a business, construction permits, getting electricity, protecting minority investors, and paying taxes, we need to struggle more. In relation to that, when we extend it to resources management in Indonesia to contribute to the better efforts of doing tourism business, we are not that good yet. In terms of better management of resources, either in natural resources, human resources, political, financial, social connection resources, apart from business environment, we are still in the middle. Somewhat from the research finding, we sit at the 3.5 round out of the 7 most ideal location and condition. So seeking from these elements, we still need to better manage our safety and security, health and hygiene, human resources, ICT readiness, prioritization of travel and tourism, international openness, environmental sustainability, airport handling and infrastructure, including its ground and port infrastructure, as well as tourist services and cultural resources and business travel. Whilst crisis, my meta-analysis finding also found out that within the last 2 decades, there has been 28 crises. The lists are here, starting from civil unrest of May 98 in Jakarta, which is caused by human failure, to the most currently happening COVID-19 outbreak in 2019. When we analyze further, this crisis can be categorized into two elements. That is, atrocities, one caused by human failure, and disasters, another one which is caused by nature. Atrocities are featured by anthropogenic factors, which can include policy failure or management failure. It is more predictable and can happen during long term. While disasters are more caused by nature or global pandemic, it can happen abruptly. It is therefore less easy to be predicted, but can happen in a shorter period of time. Considering this, when we dive into rapid assessment, there is some impacts of our tourism business. In Bali, for example, as the top destination in Indonesia, tourism contributes to more than 50% of income revenue throughout Bali. It is supported by the accommodation and food services, transportation and warehousing, construction of hotels and resorts, as well as wholesale and retail, making a total of 51.2. It is way beyond agriculture, which is only supports around 13%, and other backwarded sectors of industry such as manufacturing, information and communication, education, which is less than 10%, and others, which only contribute to 18%. Such high dependence impacts on crisis happening. When it happens, Balinese suffers. Let's say this research says that there is 61% sharp decline of income before and whilst the pandemic happens. When we talk about the decrease of income, we see that the average income before the COVID reaches around 5 million rupiah, whilst when pandemic happens, it went down into around 2 million only. For non-Balinese working in Bali, the percentage is even higher, 64%. So there is some crisis lesson learned, and it's about how we better manage our income of livelihood. The high dependence on tourism leads to a permanent or temporary layoff, and it creates unemployment. While at the same time, other livelihood sources such as agriculture lost, impacting on vulnerable livelihood sustainability. Therefore, the question is, what sort of management model which suits the tourism sustainability in the global scale, particularly in Indonesian context? I am proposing in this delivery talk the human relation model. When we refer to Quinn in his seminal work in 2000, he broadly orientation toward human relation model out of the three other models. The human relation model focuses on human commitment to share resources, not to be a mere single player in a tourism world. It typically values human resources distribution and capacity strengthening, cohesion among stakeholders, so there is very strong socio-economic bonding between stakeholders, and ethical moral between the tourism stakeholders. Then when we apply it into tourism business, there is a proposal of community-based tourism. It is a form of tourism that seeks to empower communities way beyond the conglomerates, the major players in tourism business, to manage together, to collaborate tourism growth and achieve community aspirations relating to community well-being, and includes economic, social, and environmental sustainable development. The community-based tourism also involves a partnership between tourism businesses and the community themselves to deliver benefits to both parties. But beyond that, it also involves community, internal and external support for small tourism enterprises. The application of human relation model to community-based tourism is then can be done as follows. That a group of people with diverse characteristics are linked by social ties, share common perspectives, and furthermore, engage in a joint action. It will increase emphasis on community collaboration, which indicates the need for consensus regarding the definition of community within public health context. The main aim is, whilst doing tourism business, every stakeholders will get developed, and the final objective is overall well-being of the community. To better illustrate the concept, here is my visualization. There are three phases of crisis management: what happens during pre-crisis, whilst crisis, and post-crisis. In pre-crisis stage, we've got mitigation, crisis planning, better up beforehand, and signal detection. Whilst crisis happens, we can focus on ways of rescuing and evacuating, as well as providing psychological first aid as psychosocial support for the impacted parties, including tourism business actors and actresses, as well as rebuilding tourism business to welcome the post-crisis stage. The post-crisis stage, as the third crisis stage, can focus on ways and efforts to rehabilitation and reconstruction, more beyond the physical building. It will also strengthen the capacity of human resources, which affects the destination image revitalization. All of these are the pentahelix collaboration between emergency organization, tourism organization, and tourism business. Well, when we come into reality, how could it come into practice? These steps can be somewhat a point of discussion for us. The first one is join up. It means to encourage participation of rural community into tourism sector. Further, we can also improve social well-being of local communities. An activity of cleanup day, activity together can be an example. Next, to merge tourism in integrated livelihood activities, we make communities surrounding tourism business get involved in. As depicted in this picture, surga bumi di tengah sawah. We can also introduce international tourists to dive into the local culture. It's a process of engagement. The tourists coming engage in local culture to learn, to enjoy, to study about multicultural communication and culture. Further, we can also engage in volunteering activities such as teaching foreign languages, tree planting as part of environmental preservation, coral planting, fishing with the communities, etc. And the next two options are to offer preferences for budget tourists, that we are inclusive people to welcome varieties of tourists, including their financial affordability, as well as to open more business opportunities to rural population, that we extend our activities of tourism. The conclusion in this short talk, therefore, we as a resilient community need to better manage our tourism business in terms of tourism must seek decision making among stakeholders so it can collaborate with other livelihoods. It also necessary for us as a tourism stakeholders to save financial resources from harvest at the peak seasons and wisely invest it in other livelihoods, because tourism is a vulnerable business. The third conclusion is crisis sign a need of greater involvement and ownership among the local communities. We need to involve wider communities apart from core business of tourism, because tourism bring tourists which come and go, but the communities live there forever. Therefore, the local communities must be involved in the planning and management. Tourism is not about mere conglomerates business. Thank you very much for listening to this delivery, and I'm looking forward to discussion points. Bye.